Today, we're going to take a look at I Care a Lot and how it uses colour in a masterful way to tell its story. Whether it's red being used on signs to let us know that there is danger, or whether if it's blue to let us know that it's the gender of a newborn baby. We are told so much information in colour all the time. So it's no wonder that movies have always used colour almost inherently to help tell the stories. So I Care a Lot already has some really nice set design, framing, cinematography. Some great filmmaking has gone into this film. But something I really took notice of throughout was the use of color.
Of course.
One of the most obvious uses of color in I Care a Lot is, well, the use of denoting who the lead character is in the film. So they almost always put the lead character in the most colorful and saturated color in the entire scene. Everybody else in the scene, as well as everything around her in the scenes, are always less saturated than what she is wearing at that time. But it goes further than that. The colors are almost always very striking, vivid, primary colors. So what does this do? Why use really saturated colors on one character and not another? Well, it has a few uses. First and foremost, it helps us recognize who the lead character is without having to point that out in the scenes. It also lets us know that this character is very confident. She is not afraid to stand out in a crowd.
All it takes is hard work.
And finally, the use of really saturated colors helps us distinguish her from the antagonist, who is always in black, apart from one of his henchmen who happens to have the taste of... I don't know. I don't know the taste he has, but it's pretty bad.
Sort of.
So the antagonist is always in black, and the protagonist is always in bright colors or white. So we definitely get the two sides of this battle, even if they are presented to be quite similar characters. They are both crooks in their own worlds. Without this differentiation, we might start to think that they are a little too similar. So I think this is a really handy visual cue to let us know which side are you going to be on. The one which has lots of colors and interest, or the one that happens to be always in black. It's also quite interesting to note that whenever the protagonist actually did change her clothes throughout the movie, which was quite often actually, she was always in a totally different color or pattern from the previous scene. Not even close. If she wore red in the very next scene, she would not wear even a shade of red. It would be yellow or green or blue.
She's a danger to others.
In fact, look at how many times she wears a primary color in the film versus when she doesn't. But it also lets us know that this woman, she's willing to change tactics and is very comfortable doing so.
Your instinct was right. I'm entirely willing to be bought off. Your man just came in too low.
Another way in which color was used, especially with the protagonist, is when in which she starts to feel a little less sure about herself. She happens to also be wearing slightly less saturated clothes. It's a really nice, subtle way of the audience starting to understand that as well through the colors that she's wearing.
We don't know they killed her. Karen may have had trouble we didn't know about.
Oh, really? Do you believe that?
This leads me to another area that they use color in a really interesting way. So, as we know, the antagonist, played by Peter Dinklage, has been in black for the entire movie. And we've seen the antagonist and protagonist battling it out over this old woman who happens to be the golden goose for the protagonist, and the mother of the antagonist. So it's interesting then, once the protagonist is pushed to a point where she can no longer battle it in the same way, this is the first time that we see her in full black. And this is the moment we realize that she's crossing a line. She's going beyond the person and the tactics that she used to use. And actually she's now using the antagonist's own tactics back against him. To really counterpoint this, the first time the antagonist and protagonist meet each other, they happen to be also in a complete black outfit for the antagonist and a complete white outfit for the protagonist. Now, for those of you who are psychologically savvy, you'll know that unfortunately we have associated white and black to do with angels and demons, good and evil. And although I don't like to promote this concept, it is one that is still quite pervasive in a lot of media. So by putting them in polar opposite outfits, we again get a very subtle, or maybe not quite so subtle, difference between the two characters.
I don't like you.
You only just met me.
An interesting way that they could have taken the color theory one step further would be to also start picking certain tones and shades of colors to help mimic the protagonist's own mental journey within the story. This could have meant that the colors got brighter or darker, saturated or less saturated throughout a scene. So instead of waiting for the end of a scene to change the tone of the actual clothes and costume that she's wearing, instead start to tweak the colors and brightness of that outfit during the scene, between the cuts. These subtle changes can help evoke in the audience a mood without them even realizing it.
Protection from apathy, protection from their own pride, and quite often, protection from their own children.
It can be a really nice subconscious method of exploring how the character is feeling and conveying that to your audience. I Care a Lot is a fantastic film, and I thoroughly enjoyed the way in which they use color. So the next time you watch a movie, whether it be I Care a Lot or any other type of movie, you'll start to spot the ways in which other filmmakers have used color to tell story and to manipulate the way you feel.